Hi, and welcome back to Biblical Reflections. In today's video, we'll explore some of the most powerful and encouraging stories of faith from the Bible. These stories remind us of God's unwavering faithfulness and how trusting in Him can lead to miraculous outcomes, even in the darkest of times. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's dive into these timeless examples of faith that continue to inspire millions around the world. Our first story takes us to Abraham, often called the father of faith. God promised Abraham that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars in the sky, even though Abraham and his wife Sarah were childless and advanced in age. In Genesis chapter 15, verse 6, it says, Abraham believed the Lord, and it was credited to him as righteousness. His faith was tested further when God asked him to sacrifice his son Isaac, his only child, with Sarah and the child of promise. Abraham's willingness to obey, even when the request seemed impossible, shows incredible faith. As he lifted the knife, God intervened and provided a ram for the sacrifice instead. This story teaches us that trusting God, even when His plans seem unclear, can lead to blessings beyond imagination. Key takeaway: faith requires trust, even when the path is uncertain. God's promises are always fulfilled, often in ways we cannot foresee. Another example of great faith is found in the story of Moses and the Israelites at the Red Sea. After years of slavery in Egypt, God chose Moses to lead his people to freedom. As Pharaoh's army pursued them, the Israelites found themselves trapped between the sea and their enemies. In this terrifying moment, Moses spoke in faith, saying, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today." Exodus chapter 14, verse 13. God parted the waters, creating a dry path for the Israelites to cross safely. When the Egyptians followed, the waters returned, swallowing their enemies. Key takeaway: faith means believing that God will make a way, even when there seems to be no way. Ruth's story is a beautiful example of faith during times of loss and uncertainty. After losing her husband, Ruth chose to stay with her mother-in-law, Naomi, rather than return to her own family. She declared, "Your people will be my people, and your God my God." Ruth chapter 1, verse 16. Ruth's faith and loyalty led her to Boaz, a kind and godly man who would become her husband. Through their union, Ruth became part of the lineage of Jesus Christ. Key takeaway: faith often involves stepping into the unknown and trusting God to provide even when life feels uncertain. David, a young shepherd boy, demonstrated extraordinary faith when he faced the giant Goliath. While others were paralyzed by fear, David trusted that God would deliver victory. He told Goliath, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." 1 Samuel 17:45. Armed with only a sling and 5 stones, David defeated the giant. Key takeaway: faith enables us to face challenges that seem insurmountable. With God on our side, no obstacle is too great. In the New Testament, we find the story of a woman who had suffered from a bleeding condition for 12 years. Despite spending all her money on doctors, she found no relief. Her faith led her to believe that simply touching Jesus' robe would heal her. She pushed through the crowd and touched his garment. Jesus said, "Your faith has healed you," Mark 5:34, and she was immediately healed. Key takeaway: faith can bring healing and restoration, even in the most hopeless situations. In the book of Daniel, we read about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, 3 young men who refused to worship King Nebuchadnezzar's golden statue. The king threatened to throw them into a fiery furnace, but they boldly declared, "The God we serve is able to deliver us. But even if he does not, we will not serve your gods." Daniel March 17:18. God honored their faith and protected them in the furnace. They emerged unharmed, and the king praised their God. Key takeaway: faith means standing firm in your beliefs, even when the consequences seem dire. Peter's story reminds us that faith can lead us to experience the miraculous. When Jesus walked on water, Peter asked to join him. At Jesus' invitation, Peter stepped out of the boat and began to walk on water. However, when he became afraid and doubted, he started to sink. Jesus caught him and said, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" Matthew 14:31. Key takeaway: faith involves keeping our eyes on Jesus, even amidst life's storms. These stories remind us that faith is not about having all the answers, but about trusting the one who does. Whether we're facing impossible odds, stepping into the unknown, or enduring hardship, faith in God gives us the strength to persevere and the courage to overcome. Which of these stories resonated with you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Biblical Reflections for more inspiring content. Until next time, keep the faith, and God bless.